If someone says to me that they are a fan of MMA, that tells me immediately that they must also be a fan of Mark Hunt. I just don't think it's possible to love fights and not love Mark Hunt and the way he fights. He had a long career, and despite a record that is not to be desired, Mark Hunt has a long highlight reel of walk-off knockouts that will never not be fun to watch. He also has wins over Vanderlei Silva, Mirko Cro Cop, Ben Rothwell, Stefan Struve, Roy Nelson, Bigfoot Silva, Frank Mir, and the last win of his career was a TKO of Derek Lewis. For all of his wins, he's got a lot of losses, and seemingly now another loss he's likely to add to his resume is a loss to the UFC. Mark Hunt's lawsuit against the UFC, Dana White, and Brock Lesnar does not seem to be going well. Why is he suing the UFC? What is the likely outcome? I'm not a lawyer, but I'm going to break it all down for you. And since I'm doing nice things for you, I'm going to do another nice thing and tell you how you can get 15% off the best BJJ apparel out there. All you have to do is visit epicrollbjj.com and use the coupon code podcast15 to take 15% off of shorts, rash guards, gis, belts, t-shirts, hoodies, and more. Don't spend more of your hard-earned money on gear that was not designed for jiu-jitsu. Just because it looks like a rash guard does not mean it's made for our sport or will hold up to the demands of your training. Epic Roll is gear that is actually designed by grapplers for grapplers. It's high quality without being overpriced like some other brands. Plus, with our code podcast15, you can take an extra 15% off. Make sure you follow Epic Roll BJJ on Instagram and tag them when your new stuff comes in. epicrollbjj.com, coupon code podcast15. Now, let's look at Mark Hunt versus the UFC. In July of 2016 at UFC 200, Mark Hunt fought Brock Lesnar in a fight that was initially ruled a win for Lesnar, but was later overturned to a no contest. This fight was the reason behind Mark Hunt's lawsuit against the UFC. Just as an aside, just on a personal note, I've never liked Brock Lesnar. He was a drug cheat for his whole career, and I'd argue that he did more harm than good for the sport. But in this fight, Brock just wrestled Hunto and got the decision. Brock was a late addition to the card. He was there to bolster UFC 200 sales, and he was retired for 5.5 years prior to this fight. This is where things go sort of sideways. The way it is supposed to work under USADA is that if a retired fighter wants to return to competition, they have to be subjected to testing for 4 months prior to being allowed to compete. This is so that USADA has enough time to test them adequately to make sure they are clean. Could someone just retire, remove themselves from the testing pool for a year and juice up and then announce they're coming back in 4 months after they cycle off and keep the benefits that they gained from a year of sipping Capri Suns? Well, yeah, they could, and this system isn't the best, but at least it's something. Or it's supposed to be something. There is a part of the USADA policy that says, quote, UFC may grant an exemption to the 4-month written notice rule in exceptional circumstances where the strict application of that rule would be manifestly unfair to an athlete, unquote. Since the Lesnar-Hunt fight was added just a few weeks before the event, that's exactly what the UFC did. They granted Lesnar a waiver. How exactly requiring him to be tested for 4 months is manifestly unfair to him? I do not know. I think it was more a case of being manifestly unfair to the UFC bottom line. After the fight, it came out that, in a shock to literally no one, Lesnar failed his drug test. Not only that, he failed his drug test after the fight and before the fight as well. However, Mark Hunt was not made aware of the failed test until after the fight had already taken place. So just to sum up, a known drug cheat named Brock Lesnar got a special exemption to compete earlier than he should have been able to in order to avoid more serious testing. He failed his test anyways, and it seems the UFC knew about it. That failure was hidden from Mark Hunt, and only after the fight did Mark Hunt know he just fought someone who tested positive. This led Mark Hunt to file a RICO lawsuit against the UFC, Dana White, and Brock Lesnar that included charges of conspiracy to commit crime related to racketeering, fraud, false pretenses, breach of contract, breach of covenant of good faith and fair dealing, negligence, and unjust enrichment. Hunt's claim was centered around the fact that he said he never agreed to fight an opponent who was using banned substances, and that his fight and his loss to Lesnar caused harm to his future earning potential and damaged his reputation. It is my view personally that Mark Hunt is justified in his outrage, especially if it could be shown that the UFC knew about Lesnar's failed test ahead of time and concealed that. Although I think he has the moral high ground here, Mark Hunt's lawsuit has not been going super well. In 2019, a U.S. District Court in Nevada dismissed most of Hunt's claims. In a bit of irony here, it seems Mark Hunt has actually been too convincing that steroids are a plague of common sports, since the District Court, in throwing out Hunt's claim that he did not consent to fighting a juiced-up opponent, they found that MMA fighters implicitly consent to fight drug cheats as an inherent risk of the sport since steroid use is so widespread. Basically saying that everyone knows UFC fighters are on the juice, so if you agree to fight in the UFC, you agree to fight someone who's on the juice. Mark Hunt has a long history of railing against steroid use in MMA, and he has very, very adamantly called out and been an opponent of steroid use. So it seems that work by him has actually worked against him a bit. It seemed like the last of his lawsuit was thrown out, but in September of 2021, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit reversed some of the 2019 decisions. So the fight goes on. The lawsuit is still limping along here. It also seems like the UFC is none too happy about this suit, and it was reported that the UFC is seeking almost $400,000 in legal fees and court costs from Mark Hunt. So should this lawsuit ever result in a total defeat for Hunto, he's going to be holding the bag for $400K, which I don't know his personal finances, but to anyone, $400K is a lot of money. And it's January 2022. We are approaching the 5-year anniversary of this suit being filed, and so far we've had most of it dismissed, including at one point all of it being thrown out, only to have one piece reversed on appeal, and the case is clinging to life on that one piece. I am not a lawyer. I do not know how this plays out, and I can't give you a real prediction, but just as a layman looking from the outside in, it doesn't seem like this is going to end well for Mr. Hunt. Don't worry though, there was some justice for Brock Lesnar. He was suspended by the Athletic Commission, even though he never seriously had any intention on fighting again. And he was fined $250,000, a large amount of money, even though it has been reported that he has not paid any of that back. And I don't know about you, but to me, it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal to make $2.5 million to fight, but have to give $250K of that back. Still seems like he's coming out ahead. In the end, if what Hunt is alleging is true, I hope he gets paid what he's due. I'm just not sure that will happen. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. You know what to do. Smash that thumbs up button and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. There is a lot of content coming you won't want to miss, so please stay tuned. Thanks again for watching, and I will see you all in the next video.